everyone, my name is Freeha and my project is on the relationship between behavioral symptoms and regional brain volume in preschool-aged kids. 1 in 7 Canadian children experience mental health problems, and overall, mental health issues in Canada typically arise in childhood and adolescence. This is because early childhood is a very critical period for our brain and behavioral development. Naturally, this meant that I wanted to do more research into brain development and mental health symptoms at these young ages. Our objective was to assess how ADHD symptoms are correlated to regional brain volume in preschoolers. Now, when we say correlated, this could mean a couple different things. The first is a difference in the rate of development. So as you can see here, the red line is progressing at a faster rate than the blue line. A second way this could happen is through an overall amount of volume changing. For example, the blue line here has more volume in the region of interest than the green line. We use this as a tool to assess how ADHD symptoms may be correlated to regional brain volume in preschool-aged kids. Now, how did we do this? The first step was collecting longitudinal MRI data for typically developing children. The kids that we studied were 2 to 5 years old at intake, but the overall data set was from 2 years old to 8 years old. In total, we had 72 children and 247 scans, which is about 3 scans per child. To determine their mental health symptoms, we used the Behavioral Assessment System for Children, or the BASC, which is a series of Likert-type responses. We particularly looked at the parent-rated scale, which means all these mental health symptoms were parent-reported. This is because our data set was from extremely young ages, where they couldn't actually fill in the Likert-type scale responses on their own. As you can see here, the BASC is split into composite scores and subscales. For this study, we were primarily interested in the hyperactivity and attention problem subscales, as these are most directly related with ADHD. However, the other subscales here, atypicality, withdrawal, and aggression, are typically seen as side effect symptoms of ADHD. Because of this, we decided to look at the 2 overall composite scores of externalizing problems and behavioral symptoms to get a more broad understanding of how ADHD-related composite scores may affect children's gray matter volume over time. Okay, so now for the exciting part, our results. Now, this graph is pretty overwhelming, so we'll walk through it. As you can see here, the x-axis shows the age of the children in years from 2 to 8, and the y-axis shows the amount of regional brain volume in a specified region. The colors correlate to the scores that children got on the behavioral symptoms part of the BASC. So green shows low scores, blue medium scores, and red is high scores. High scores means children had more behavioral symptoms. This means more problems with hyperactivity and aggression. These individual dots represent the raw data from each of the 247 scans in our study. The thin lines show the trajectory of each individual child's gray matter volume development over time. However, these middle 3 thick lines are of the most interest to us. These lines show the averaged out trajectory of those with low, medium, and high scores on the Behavioral Symptoms Index. As you can see, higher scores on the Behavioral Symptoms Index indicates less gray matter volume in this region. This region is the left medial orbital gyrus. Of course, you might be wondering what the left medial orbital gyrus is. Well, this region is also typically called the ventromedial prefrontal cortex, and it has a role in reward-related decision-making as well as correlating with decision confidence. It also has a role in processing emotional stimuli, emotional regulation abilities, and social cognitive functioning. All of these things are things that are typically impaired in children with ADHD, so having less volume in this region for those children makes a lot of sense. So, what does the literature say about this region? Well, the interesting thing about this region is that the function actually differs by age. A lot of studies have also looked at the association between this region and different mental health symptoms, such as bipolar disorder and depression. However, this was the first study to link this region to ADHD symptoms in kids as young as 2 years old. This is really important because at these ages, it's very vital to know how to optimize early intervention and assessment tools to support mental health development for younger kids. This study is a key stepping stone to understanding child's brain development better at this time and hopefully optimizing our intervention tools for the future. This was an independent research project where I came up with the idea for the project, ran the analysis, and put my findings in the context of the literature on my own with help from my supervisor, Madison, and my PI, Dr. LaBelle. Thank you to the Matheson Center as well for funding my research this summer.